Installing the elevator linkage is going to be very similar to what we did on the aileron linkage. Again, you've got a threaded rod that is reversed on each end. So basically you can make adjustments after you get it installed. So you'll start with one side, and this is the side that spins clockwise to tighten in. And then the opposite end, you'll turn counterclockwise into the ball link here. What you want is your elevator to be level, so you can tape that level, and then you want both of these adjusted. Obviously you can see this is way too far at this point, so both of these need to come very far in to where this ball link will line up with the hole on the servo arm. So I've tightened down the ball link here on the fiberglass horns, and I've got this situated so that when my elevator is level here and the servo arm is in 90 degrees, the distance is set correct. This distance from the ball link end here to the ball link end here is about 92 millimeters on mine. So you might want to try that as a starting point, get those adjusted so it's about 92 millimeters. One other quick side note that I didn't mention on the ailerons, but you might want to go back and double check, is that you should have close to a 1-to-1 ratio on your servo and on your hinge here, meaning where I've chosen to use my hole here is about 1 1/4 inches from the servo screw to the arm, or to the ball link. So this is about 1 1/4 inch here to here. You should have an equal distance from the hinge in the middle where it pivots down to where the ball link connects here. So if you get a ruler measure from right in the inset to here, this should be close to 1 1/4 if this is close to 1 1/4. So again, you want close to a 1-to-1 ratio. So now we're on to the rudder, and as you can see, I've screwed in one of these threaded posts into the ball link. I've put it in about halfway, a little bit more than halfway. I didn't screw it in all the way. That way it gives me some room for adjustment either in or out. The next step we're going to do after you've got that threaded in is to run our wire through. And the first step to doing that is to take your wire and place on one of these small sleeves onto the wire, and then you'll run the wire through the hole on the threaded post, and then you'll run it through the sleeve one more time, and then you'll tighten this, kind of get this cinched up a little bit, and you'll take the wire one last time and go back around and through that same hole one last time. Pull it tight and then just crimp that down, and that'll keep that all secured in there. Okay guys, and here it is. Again, run through the sleeve, through the hole, back through the sleeve this way, and then wrapped around and through the sleeve the same way one last time, crimp down, and that's it. Now we'll run this wire through the fuselage up to the rudder on the opposite side. So the right side of the rudder is going to connect to the left side of the rudder servo. Okay guys, and here's our rudder cable coming from the right side of the rudder, so it's going to come over to the left arm of the servo. So the cables are going to end up crisscrossing, kind of making an X over each other. Now what I've done is I've got my ball link here, and I've threaded this on about halfway, maybe a little bit more, and that gives us some adjustment room, so we can, unscrew it some and it'll still have plenty of meat on the ball link, or we can screw it in a little bit more and make fine tuning adjustments once we get this cable set up. So again, I've got my crimping sleeve on there, and then I'm going to take the end of the wire and run it through our threaded rod and go through the sleeve. And then I've taped my rudder using a little bit of masking tape to help keep it in place. Now obviously if you pull real hard, you're going to tear that tape off, but it's enough that you can snug it up and kind of get this lined up where you need it. You want the ball link to fall with this arm on the servo staying level. You want the ball link to end up falling right near that hole. And again, you'll have a little bit of adjustment, but you want it to be pretty close. So I'm going to tighten down by pulling on the loose end of the wire. I'm going to tighten this down until it gets close to there, just a little bit more. Okay, right about there. And then now that's set up, I'm just going to run this wire through the sleeve the same direction one last time and then crimp it. So that's pretty close. I ended up being I tightened down just a bit much, but again, we'll be able to loosen that threaded rod and ball link out and stretch that out a little bit more so it'll line up just perfectly. Alright guys, I've got both my cables run, crimped together and tightened down, and you can see here if I take one of these off, I don't have these bolted down yet, and if I take one of these off you can see that it's a pretty tight fit when this arm is leveled to sneak that in there, and that's about how tight you want it. To get it off and on, the easy way is you pull it back, the one you're trying to move back towards the rudder, the arm back towards the end of the plane, and that side will loosen so you can get that on there. But once you get it to this arm to be neutral and you have the tail taped down neutral, or you're holding it in place neutral, you want both of these lines to have a decent amount of tightness to them, somewhere in there where you can, you know, it's something you just have to kind of get a feel for, but it shouldn't be super tight to where there's resistance and you're having trouble moving the rudder, but you don't want it to be in this position, you don't want it to be too loose either.